What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is ASA Studio, channel for music producers and photographers. Today we're in Photoshop and we're going to be doing some photo retouching tutorial. So let's dive right into it. In this tutorial, the aim is to show you one of my go-to and one of my method I use in retouching photo. It is a very simple method and we're going to check it out just straight away. Now, first thing I like doing, I like analyzing or finding the faults in the photo. So as you can see on the image, you can see that the color of her neck is actually different from the color of her cheek. This method is actually a method that I normally avoid because I do use Capture One in balancing the skin tone of more of my models or of my images. But today I'm going to try to do everything in Photoshop instead of taking it to Capture One. For those of you who don't know how to use Capture One, this tutorial is actually for you, strictly Photoshop. Alright, so let's dive into it. Enough of the old talk. Now you can see that the image is actually one. So I'm just going to click on this icon and I'm going to unlock the layer and hit Ctrl J once. So I'm going to name this one reference, so we have something we can check. Always check back on to see the differences. This one I'm going to name it image 1, which we're going to start the editing on. And which method, first of all, I like using is to balance the skin tone. I want this part of the neck to look like the one on our face or on our cheekbone. So what am I going to do? I'm going to use adjustment layer, which is the hue and saturation. Remember in our last video I said when you use the eyedropper tool and you sample an area and you turn on you just make some changes, please don't click outside the box because everything you are going to do, you are not going to see it again. It's actually going to reset itself. So let's go. Now the color we're going to change is this one that looks like yellowish color. I want it to look like this one on our cheek. So I'm going to click on it and you can see this slider here. It's actually came up. So we can increase this hue and see what is being selected. Now I want to reduce this selection to this part of the image. So I'm only going to select that part and not the whole image. So what am I going to do? I'm going to shift this slider till I get just that place selected. So let's shift it just back. So I guess that is the place selected. Let's turn it off and on to see if that is the whole place selected. I'm going to take it back a little bit, just like so. Okay. Now let's turn it off and on to make sure it's actually selected. So that place is actually selected in the image. You can see that it's actually telling you that that place is different from the whole part of the color spectrum on our face. So what do we need to do? I'm going to reset this one immediately. Please don't click outside the box and the selection is still there. Now you need to observe. You need to shift the hue till this color looks like the one on our cheek. So let's move the hue saturation. If it is too dark, you need to increase the lightness. So it depends on what you want to achieve. So you can see that it's actually looking that way right now compared to before. Let's turn it off and then on. You can see it's actually looking like that, but you need to get the perfect blend. So I guess this looks perfect to me. So on, before, and then after. Before and then after. So if you know it's too much, this is -24. If you still want to take it back, there's no problem with that. So -27. -27 looks okay. So now you can click anywhere on the slider, and then because when you click back you won't see it again. So but that is actually representing the color changes. So you can see the before and then the after is looking so good and okay now. So what else are we going to do? Let's look forward and we can do some white balance because of our teeth and the eyes is not actually white if that is a true image. So let's do that. And the method I'm going to be using is the divide tool. For you to use the divide tool, let's click on the solid layer, just pick any color, turn it off, double click on the color picker, and I need you to sample what's actually white. So this is white. Let's zoom in. I'm going to cancel it and zoom in. Yeah, I think that is actually white. So we're not sure we're going to use it, but just pick something and then click OK. And now turn it back on. Let's zoom out. Okay, now change the blend mode to divide. If it's actually too much, you can see that it's actually too much. So this is before and this is after. So double click on it again and then increase the slider upwards, and then boom, you have the white balance. You can see the difference before and then after. So if the image is actually clipping, you can correct that. If it is in capture one, we can see a place that says exposure is actually too much. So I guess this is actually okay. I like the way the picture is looking like that. So let's check the teeth is actually the same, not the same. Okay, so we fixed it with white balance. Next thing we're going to do, I'm going to create another image using Ctrl Shift Alternate E to create a stamp visible image. And for this one, I'm going to group these two adjustments we just did. And this one, I'm going to do some frequency separation. So if you have your frequency separation action, you can run it, but I'm going to do it anyway. Color, rename this color and rename this texture. If you are good with this part, you can actually skip the video. So the color layer, I'm going to select it, filter, go to blur, Gaussian blur, and then blur it. The image is actually too much. Just where you feel, the more you blur, the more the texture, the lesser you blur, the lesser the texture. So I'm just going to blur it just a little bit more, and this looks good. Let's blur it and just leave it like that. So 6 is actually okay. 6 okay. Then turn on the texture layer, go to image, apply image. This is an 8-bit image, so the layer, choose color, multiply, change it to subtract on the blending mode. So you can see that the texture is actually separated from the color or the image. So leave your scale to offset 128 and change the blending mode to linear light, just the way we normally do. Now for the texture layer, use the clone stamp tool. For the color layer, use the mixer tool brush. So I'm just going to quickly blend the skin and then we're going to come back. But if you don't know how to do the frequency separation, choose your texture layer, choose your clone stamp tool, use Alt, hold down Alt to sample an area. Let's decrease the size of the brush. Sample an area, left click, and then remove your hand from Alt and left click. So it's actually going to sample from all those places. Say you want to remove this part on her head, you can sample an area close to it, left click, and then click on it, and it's actually going to go out. Alt, sample, left click. So I'm going to do some correction on the skin texture, and then we'll come back to the color to blend it more. All right, so I've adjusted the skin texture, and let's group the two layer so we can do before and after. So I'm going to name it frequency separation, sep. So you can see the before and then the after. Let me zoom in. Before, you can see the difference before and then the after. So now let's go to open up the group again. I'm going to open up the group and then blend the colors, the skin tone, with the mix out to brush. So let's decrease the size, and it's just as simple. Set the brush width to 9%, 75, 90, just the way it is, and you can use your own. At least 9 to 14 is actually looking okay for most of the picture I usually edit, and I mostly avoid mixing the highlight. So I mix somewhere like this side, Ctrl Z. My mouse is actually just mix somewhere close to a color, and if you mix the highlight, it's actually going to take away the dimension, which is the dodging and burning stuff. then now start adding some dodging and burning again. So just somewhere close, and then you are good. So I'll zoom in, and then I'm going to blend some of the colors. And say for instance you're seeing some skin texture you need to remove, you can actually go back to the texture and use the clone stamp tool. But somewhere like this place I'm seeing some line, so I'll quickly come here and go back to the texture, lay and clone stamp tool, and then I'm just going to do something like this. Then go back to the color layer and the mixer tool brush, and I'm going to blend it back to something like that. Alright, so avoid the highlight. So I'm going to do it, and then we're going to come back to the photo. Alright, so I'm done with the frequency separation. We can see before and then after. Before and then after. See how stunning the image looks. If you want to work on the teeth, say for instance you don't like the way the teeth is after doing the white balance, you can actually do that. Let's use the method we normally use. Go down to the adjustment layer, photo filter, click on the color cooling filter 2, and then another one, black and white, color balance, black and white, yeah, adjustment layer. Let's remove that. Let's group the two together and name it teeth whitening, THEET whitening, TEETH, sorry. So let's just say TEETH, teeth. And we're going to create a mask on that layer and then invert it, Control I. And this time around, let's change the brush to normal brush, and we're going to paint with black white because the color of the mask is black, and we're going to paint with that on the teeth, just the white part of the teeth. So just like so, one after the other. And if you feel like you made a mistake touching places you don't want to touch, you can actually invert. Just because I'm using mouse, that's why it's actually doing like that, getting to all the place I don't want it to touch. But we can actually fix that. So this is how to fix your teeth or whiten your teeth. One of the method though, although I like using the divide tool. So I'm going to hit X on the keyboard, and then I'm going to remove that from this place, the place I don't want it to be on, and then we should be done and good to go. All right, so what else do we need? On the eyes, I'm going to do the same. Hit X on the keyboard to have white, and then I'm going to click on the part I want white, and then maybe the highlight, and also this part of the image. Let's zoom in and then clean with brush with the white tool, and that is done. You can actually do this also. So let's zoom out. Now I've created the white teeth, so you can see the before and then the after. If it's actually too much, you can decrease the opacity or the fill, but I think I'm going to decrease the opacity instead, just a little bit, to make it look so natural. All right, so after doing that, I'm going to do some exposure settings, so we can calm down the exposure or increase the exposure. So bringing this up or bringing this down. So I'm going to bring it up just a little bit to brighten up our face, so you can see the before and then the after, to brighten up the image. Whichever one you want, you can do so. So I'm going to brighten it up. If it is too exposed, I'll take it down. All right, so now last thing is to create color balance, and this one is to add some depth on the skin tone to create some color grading. And as I can see, I think I'll start from the highlight. So on the highlight, I'm going to put in some yellow. I don't want it to look like a morning look, and add in some magenta. So something that's too much, just a little bit. And we can also increase the red here, just like +2, just a little. Oh, that's on the mid-tone. So let's go to the highlight. Let's put in some yellows and then some red. The same thing with some magenta. I need the skin tone. Now this is where things get real good. You can either increase the blues to make the image pop more, -7, and maybe decrease the red there, and let's increase the green. Gives a very calm color, and take it back gives it kind of so whichever one you want, I prefer the green one with the green. So +6. Let's see, not much difference. Yeah, I want it to look still natural. All right, so you can see the before and then the after just a little bit. Now if you turn off the exposure, actually not going to look brighter, and you can do some vignetting and the rest of, but this is where we're going to stop the edit. So let's create a stamp visible layer, Control Shift Alternate E, and let's see where we came from. I'm going to group these two together, and then I'm going to turn the effect all off. So we added from the first part, we duplicated and then did some correction on the color with that's the sum. I'm giving summary now, the hue and saturation, and then we did from frequency separation, and then some color grading and the exposure settings. All right, so if you enjoy what we post on our content or on the page or on the channel, you can actually like and share to as many others you can reach out to that you know needs the editing tutorial. For those of you that are new, please don't forget to subscribe, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification button to get notified whenever we post new videos. So see you in our next video. We'll be making more videos like this.